Hey, my name is Ronny Katzenberger. I'm an ATN Pro Staff member. Over the years, hunting hawks using night vision and thermal vision, I learned a few things. And usually when we take somebody out, there's just a few things I want to run them through just to make sure they get the best experience out of it. I'm going to start with the night vision setup. Back here I have a bolt action. It's an ATN X-Sight 4K Pro 5x20. At this point we have an ABL 1000 paired with it. That would be my long range setup and something I'm just now really getting into it more. But a few things with the night vision you want to look out for is, for example, the mounting point for an infrared torch. In this case, we have an ATN IR850 infrared torch. I've seen over the time, working with ATN and supporting some of the customers and talking to people in general, that they mount them on the side of the scope. So you would see that mounted sometimes on the handguard, on the side rail, for example. The old X-Sight 2 HD had a little Picatinny on the side, so that's something people will do too. What happens here though is that the infrared is actually being reflected back from your handguard, even from the scope itself, and you get not the best experience in a night vision image. So the infrared actually reflects back. It's kind of like a hazy picture. So what you do want to do is you want to mount this infrared torch as far forward as you can, and the best spot for that is actually under the barrel. So in this case, in this bolt action, I only have one mounting position down here. I will put this right here, and I would mount it as far forward as I can. This way you don't have any infrared reflecting back into your lens. Now when we talk about long range infrared, something to think about is how long can your infrared actually reach, right? If you're talking about a 400 to 500 yard shot, if you're in an open field, chances are you probably get that far. But if you're in a spot where, like right now we're here in Texas in the hill country, where you have a lot of vegetation, mesquite trees, or trees in general, you will have some infrared reflecting back at your scope, limiting the range, how far you can see out, how far you can see a game or your target species. So what you could do is, let's say you're hunting over a feeder, or you're hunting at a spot where you know they're coming in, a trail or something like that. In my case, we're doing a lot of hawk hunting, so whenever I bait, I know where they would come in. What you can do is you put up an auxiliary infrared light, floodlight, or all kinds of infrared light sources you can buy, and put it right next to your spot, like put it right next to the bait over the feeder or something. And now you don't have to have this torch reach as far, but you have an infrared light source right next to your target and have illumination that way. So that enables you to reach further and hopefully make that long range shot. Now, anybody who starts hunting at night using night vision, these kind of things, the most natural progression I see is once you've started infrared, you get the bug and you're hooked on it, you're going to move to thermal vision at some point. It's going to happen. So moving on to thermal vision, this is my hawk hunting setup right now actually. It's an AR10, it's a Roam Red River Ultralight. On top we have an ATN ThOR 4, it's a 640 2.5 by 25. I'm using the 2.5 base mag. That's my go-to. I think that's a sweet spot between 2 and 2.5. Gets you a wide field of view. For the kind of hunting we do, it's usually within 100 yards what we shoot. So that to me and to us has been the sweet spot. Anything bigger, usually the follow-up shots are kind of hard because of the narrow field of view. With the thermal vision, a few things to think about as you move up from a night vision scope to a thermal vision scope. You're talking about a significant investment, so you want to make sure you protect that as good as you can. A few things you can do in that case is, one, you can see I have a lens cover on here. The lens, what I usually tell folks we take out is treat that lens better than you would treat your eyeball, because ultimately it's a sensitive piece of the scope. This is a germanium covered lens. You don't want to just take your shirt and rub that dirt off, because all you do is you put something in between your shirt and the lens, and that's dirt and really hard little particles, which are going to scratch up that lens. So what I want to do is take a cotton ball, take some isopropyl, 99% alcohol, and just dunk it in the alcohol, do one swipe, discard that cotton ball and take a new one. That way you don't risk that you have dirt caught in there and you scratch it all over the place. So you want to just keep that lens clean and treat it as good as you can. Another thing I tell people is when we're out in the field hunting, let's say with a group of 3 or 4, one common thing I have seen is when people try to get around people. I see them picking up the rifle, going up in the air, and coming back down. Two things about that. One, it's probably not the safest direction to point a rifle at. The safest direction, per gun safety rules, is you want to point it down. Dirt, is a good direction. Two, you don't want to point the scope at an extreme heat signature. So think about your old traditional night vision scopes, the traditional night vision tube. They would burn up during daylight, for example. That's a known thing. You want to cover that up during daytime. You only want to use it during nighttime. And actually, one of the advantages of the digital night vision, you can use it day and night. But with thermal vision, what you don't want to do is you don't want to point at an extreme heat signature. The most extreme heat signature we have on this planet is the sun. So it's good to create a habit, and the habit would be, if you want to move around somebody, you point it down, go around, and then up again instead of up and over. And that way you just don't risk to get a glimpse of the sun at some point. So that will make sure you can enjoy your investment for a long time, and it's going to be reliable for many hunts to come. And lastly, to improve the experience with thermal vision, it's probably something you can't control, but it's the weather. So if we go out and it's a humid night, your thermal image actually degrades. And it's something across the board with any thermal sensor you have out there. Humidity and weather conditions can affect your image quality. One of the best nights you can have is low humidity and a somewhat average temperature. So when the sun during the day heats up a lot of the trees and the rocks, those are usually the objects you see at night, and you're going to think for 5 seconds, is that a hawk or is it a rock? So low humidity is your friend. You can get some really good images out of these scopes. In this case is a 640 sensor. We also have the 384 sensor. And I must say that the image quality of the 384 is fantastic. The only difference really here between the 640 and the 384 is that you have a longer range. You can actually recognize and identify a target out there. So the way I usually put it is, you have three phases for thermal vision. You have detection, you have recognition, identification, and that's the big difference between the 384 and the 640. So the 640 is going to reach just a little further. But if you are into hawk hunting and most of your stuff is, let's say, in a high vegetation area, so you hunt between 100 and 200 yards, the 384 is going to be a great scope for you. So yeah, that is it for night vision and thermal vision. Just wanted to share some of the tips and some of the things I learned over the years of hawk hunting in Texas. Just want to make sure you guys have the best experience as you go out, and hopefully help us with the hawk population in the United States. Hope you guys get to use your scopes as much as we do and get to enjoy them.